So the next one we're going to do is the pyramids, and if you have a look here, the pyramids are made up with 3mm tubes, so they're quite small, and if you capture the angle on the side, you can actually see how they stand up. So these look really effective, and I want to show you a sample that I've done that use that kind of technique. So this was a lovely little seascape that I did a few years ago, and on here you can have a look at the tubes that I've done on this sample here. So this is like a little bit of coral that I did, and I used the 3mm red transparent tubes, and they're also standing up a similar way to our sample that we're going to do next. So it's really quite amazing what you can do with the hook. Lots of different techniques. So that's the one that we're going to do next. So now you're going to take your 3mm tubes. So you just want to thread these up like we did before. So just use the beading needle. And then you want to put those on the couture beading thread. So the line that we want to work on is next to the bugle beads. So make sure you flipped your frame again because we're working the other way around. So we're going to do our knots, 3 steps again, remember, forwards, 1.5, rotation, rotate anti-clockwise, lift through the fabric, back tack, so we're going to do a stitch going backwards, plunge the hook, wrap the thread 1.5 times, anti-clockwise, rotate anti-clockwise, lifting through the fabric, and now we're going to finish by plunging forwards. Okay, so think about the way that I held my beads in my hand before. So you have a choice. You can either just hold them from the bottom, squeezing the palm at the bottom so they don't fall down, or you can wrap the thread round your palm. Whatever feels easiest. Obviously I have a way of doing it that I was taught, but equally I believe you should find a method that really works for you. So the idea is that it will become a quick and efficient way to apply beads and sequins, but as a beginner, naturally, it will feel a bit more challenging and it's going to take a little bit longer at the beginning. So what we're going to do now is instead of pushing up one of the beads, we're going to push up 2 at the same time. So just have to think about the length of that. So if you separate 2 of the tubes, just place them like we did before with the bugle beads, but I want you to plunge the hook the width of one of the tubes. So plunging the hook, slide them up, catch it round the front, make sure they're behind the hook, rotate the thread, and then lift through. And so what happens there, it collapses them, so it makes a little pyramid underneath. Now what you need to do is you need to do a very small holding stitch in between. So we're just going to plunge the hook and do a basic chain stitch, and that helps to secure the previous pyramid, and it allows you to do the next one so that it's not overlapping the previous one. So same thing, separate 2 of them, slide them up, plunge the hook the width of one of the tubes, and then catch it around the front, rotate and lift, holding stitch. And now you know roughly the method. You don't need to push up the bead first. So all you have to do is just plunge the hook. That stitch length should really be about 5mm. So slide the 2 tubes up, rotate the thread, lift through, and then we're going to do a very small basic chain stitch just to give us the distance there. So now you can see they're all forming underneath. And you can do this with other beads as well. So you may want to do gradients of different size bugle beads, because you can actually get some that are about 3 centimeters long. So it looks really effective when you start to experiment and play around with different materials.